Why of me naifanya dura
oge akụkọ ụwa anyị na-ewetara gị si n'ọwara igwe okwu Okwute BTV ka o si wee labịara gị. Onye ọma na-ege ntị, ọ bụla ihe anyị na-eme na-amasị gị, anyị si gị tụsaa ya ka ọ rụsi ikwu ma rute ibe. Tupu anyị agaala iruola akụkọ ụwa anyị nwere tata, anyị chọrọ ime ka ị mata na ofu gọọmenti ka anyị nwere n'ala Biafra bụ Biafra Republic Government in Exile, bụ ụgbọ jeje ibulata USB bulata ya ụlọ. Mgbakpụ keta oche gị nso ka ntị ya ga-azụ esimolu. Amerịka anabatala mba Somalia dịka ka ha bụrụ obodo nke aka ha site n'ịrụ military base n'obodo Somalia. Otu aka ahụ ọnụ na-ekwuchitere Biafra la ambassador ala Washington DC amaara dịka Elias agbala ụmụ Biafra la ndị ambazonia ha kwadobe n'oge nke ha na-abịa. Aludo steeti ji otu aka ahụ werela akpọ ndị Aludo la mba ụwa niile gba gburugburu si ka ha bịa dịka ha na-eme fundraising na 16th of March 2025. Ndị omebe iwu la Washington DC akpọla Donald Trump si ka eti Naijiria lafa ndị ogbuara ọbara dịka ha na-egbu ndị lekpere Chineke na ndị ọzọ. Biafra Black Marine agbatuola ụgbọ mmiri nke ndị mba Cameroon bụ ndị ogbuara ọbara dịka ha bịara ịkpaso ha mgbọ. Biafra Republic Government in Exile ji otu aka ahụ wee akpọ ụmụ Biafra n'ụwa niile ha kwadobe maka ngagharị iwe na Finland na mba ndị ọzọ dị iche iche. Mgba gerenụ akụkọ ụwa tata lujia ka
U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom will soon renew its recommendation of CPC designation for Nigeria. Placing Nigeria on the U.S.'s short list of the world's most egregious religious freedom violators is warranted and would be a foundation for further human rights initiatives by the new administration here. It is the law. It's standing up for religious freedom is part of American exceptionalism. It's part of our heritage, our traditions, and our Constitution to respect the unalienable right of religious freedom. That concludes my testimony. Thank you.
Shay, thank you so very much for your testimony, for your decades of dedication to this important issue. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Smith, Ranking Member Jacobs, and members of the subcommittee. First, let me thank you for your opening comments. It's refreshing to see we have agreement. We understand that there is a problem. Now coming to a solution is our challenge. So thank you for your insight. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning. My name is Tony Perkins. I served as a commissioner on the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom from 2018 to 2022. And as the chairman said, I served as both chair and vice chair. From my time on USERV, I can tell you with certainty that the world is not paying enough attention to the growing humanitarian disaster in Nigeria. Despite its strategic importance as Africa's most populous country, these warning lights are flashing because of this systematic religious persecution driven primarily by Islamists, and it's going unaddressed. Christians are the primary targets. They're murdered, kidnapped, raped, and terrorized on almost a daily basis, as has already been discussed. The numbers are staggering. The brutality is unspeakable, and the silence from global leaders is deafening. Let me share just one recent example. On February 9th, Fulani terrorists armed with AK-47s, these are not hunting rifles, these are rifles designed to kill. I served, after coming out of the Marine Corps, I worked with the State Department in anti-terrorism and very familiar with the mode and operation of terrorists. They stormed a village in Gombe State. They first seized a 9-year-old boy from the Puma family and demanded ransom. They then sought out the Reverend Bala Galadima's home. They found him, they broke into his home, they demanded money. He pleaded with them, saying that he had none, but he offered them what he had. He had grain, so he offered them grain. They refused. They shot him 3 times, killing him. Sadly, this is not an isolated incident. In late January, Boko Haram launched a series of coordinated attacks on Christian villages in Chibok, the same region where 276 schoolgirls were kidnapped in 2014, Mr. Chairman. You'll remember that. We discussed it then. In fact, many of those girls remain captives to this day. The terrorists set homes and churches ablaze, destroyed livestock, and demanded that Christians convert or they die. More than 4,000 believers have been forced to flee for their lives in recent weeks alone. As has been mentioned, according to Open Doors, more Christians are murdered for their faith in Nigeria than any other country in the world. 2024 alone, 3,100 Christians were killed. 2,830 were kidnapped. These are not just numbers. These are fathers, their mothers, their children, their families. The case of Leah Sharibu underscores the horror of this crisis. Leah was just 14 years old when Boko Haram kidnapped her and 108 other girls from their school in 2018. The terrorists eventually released all the girls except Leah. Why? Because she refused to renounce her Christian faith. Reports suggest she is still alive and now held as a prize by her captors as she has been forced to bear children in captivity. As a commissioner on the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, I met with her family multiple times and worked with the previous administration to track her, hopefully trying to gain her freedom. We were not successful. This is what religious persecution in Nigeria looks like. It is violent, it is brutal, and it is worsening. In 2020, the Trump administration, based on recommendations from USCIRF, and I was a part of that leadership team, Nigeria was designated as a country of particular concern. This was an essential step, recognizing the Nigerian government was failing to protect religious minorities from systematic violence. Yet in 2021, the Biden administration inexplicably removed Nigeria's CPC designation, despite the fact that attack against Christians had increased. Former Secretary of State Antony Blinken later suggested in a meeting with USCIRF members, which I was present, that these massacres were caused by climate change, that desperate Fulani herders were simply looking for pasture land. Let me be clear, this is not about climate change. It's about a violent extremist ideology that seeks to eliminate Christianity from Nigeria's northern and central regions. The evidence is undeniable. This is systematic religious violence. The U.S. government must act, and they must act now. Nigeria must be redesignated a country of particular concern. The Biden administration's removal of this designation was a reckless mistake that emboldened the very terrorists who are slaughtering Christians. The evidence overwhelmingly meets the legal threshold under the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, which requires CPC status for governments that engage in or tolerate severe violations of religious freedom. That's exactly what Nigeria's government has done. It has failed to protect all of its citizens from religious violence. The U.S. must impose consequences. Under the International Religious Freedom Act, the President has the authority to take action against CPC-designated nations, including economic penalties. The U.S. should apply targeted sanctions against Nigerian officials who are complicit in religious persecution, as well as suspend certain trade benefits until concrete actions are taken to protect all Nigerians. Religious freedom protection must be tied to U.S.-Nigerian relations. The administration should make it clear that Nigeria's treatment of religious minorities will directly impact diplomatic and economic relations, including trade agreements and security assistance. Finally, the U.S. must reappoint a strong, high-profile ambassador for international religious freedom. During the first Trump administration, this role was used effectively under the leadership of Ambassador Sam Brownback to apply global pressure on persecuting nations. The momentum for that must be regained. In closing, Mr. Chairman, it is time for the United States to send an unmistakable message, to draw a red line. The slaughter of Christians and other religious minorities in Nigeria will not be tolerated. If Nigeria continues to allow terrorists to burn churches, execute pastors, and kidnap schoolgirls with impunity, there must be consequences. This is not just about Nigeria. It is about the future of religious freedom, the stability of Africa, the moral credibility of the United States. If we fail to act, Make no mistake about it, this crisis will spread. Refugees will flood into neighboring countries. Terrorists will grow bolder. And America's silence will embolden jihadists worldwide. Chairman Smith, members of the committee, thank you for helping raise awareness of the need to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The world is watching, but more importantly, the religious persecution and those who are the victims of that in Nigeria are watching. They're waiting to see if America will stand with them and for them.